Can you imagine being the best in the world at something you hate? I mean, really hate. It just sounds impossible. Well, that is the bizarre and completely true story of tennis legend Andre Agassi, a guy who reached the absolute pinnacle of his sport while secretly despising almost every single minute of it. And I'm not exaggerating here, this goes way back, right to the very beginning. As a little kid, Agassi's relationship with the sport that would make him famous was just pure hatred. And this wasn't some phase he went through. It was literally the foundation of his entire life. So where did all this hate come from? Well, it kind of boils down to this one unbelievable number, 2,500. That's how many tennis balls Agassi was forced to hit every single day as a kid. That's nearly 1,000,000 balls a year, all fired at him from this souped-up ball machine his father called the Dragon. So yeah, that's what we're talking about in this first part. Forged in hate. We're going to see how this insane pressure cooker childhood created a prodigy who never, ever wanted to be one. For young Andre, that tennis court in his backyard, it wasn't a happy place. It was basically his prison. And you can see his dad's influence all over his playing style. His dad, see, was a former Olympic boxer for Iran, a real tough guy, and he trained Andre like a fighter. He taught him to be a counterpuncher, to just take the opponent's best shot and blast it right back at them, only harder. And this next story, it just perfectly captures the insane pressure he was under. At just 9 years old, his dad puts him in a money match against the legendary NFL running back, Jim Brown. And Agassi wins. Easy, securing a $500 bet for his father. He wasn't playing for trophies, he was playing for cash, and for his dad's approval. And it got even darker than that. His father was so desperate for him to win that he once gave him a pill which turned out to be speed, right before a match. But here's the thing, this is where you start to see that little spark of rebellion in Agassi. His older brother told him to throw the match, so he did. He deliberately lost. It was this tiny act of defiance in a life he felt he had no control over. And that rebellion, it didn't just stay on the court. It completely defined the next chapter of his life, the rebel champion. As he goes pro, he builds this huge, wild, rock star persona. But it's all a cover for the deep-seated misery he was feeling inside. So his dad sends him off to this fancy tennis academy in Florida, right? And his rebellion just explodes. He's getting bad grades, he's drinking and smoking pot, he's got this crazy pink mohawk. He was acting out any way he could. Eventually, he just quit school altogether at 14 to focus on the one thing in the world he hated, tennis. But here's the absolute paradox of it all. Despite hating the game, despite rebelling at every opportunity, the kid's talent was just undeniable. His rise was ridiculously fast. He turns pro at 16. Just a year later, he wins his first professional tournament. By 18, he's already number 4 in the world. And then, at 22, he wins his first Grand Slam, Wimbledon. You know, his whole brand was image is everything. But behind that rock star image was this deep, deep insecurity. And this is wild. During that first Grand Slam final, he later admitted he was more worried about his hairpiece falling off than actually winning the match. Yeah, he was secretly going bald and was terrified the world would find out. But despite all that inner turmoil, the wins just kept piling up. After winning the US Open and the Australian Open, by the time he was 25, he had finally done it. He achieved his father's lifelong dream for him. He became the #1 ranked tennis player in the world. So that's it, right? He made it. Story over? Nope, not even close. Which brings us to the fall from grace, because getting to the top didn't bring him happiness. It just made the emptiness he felt even bigger. And I mean, the fall was just catastrophic. Think about this. In early 1997, he's the #1 player on the planet. By the end of that same year, his ranking had plummeted all the way down to 141. It was a complete and total freefall. So what happens? Well, his personal life was a wreck. His big-time marriage to actress Brooke Shields was falling apart, and in the absolute depths of his depression, he turned to something much, much darker, crystal meth. And this was rock bottom. He fails a drug test, which should have been it, career over, a long suspension, but he writes this letter to the tennis authorities, the ATP, and just lies. He says his assistant spiked his drink, and incredibly, they buy it. They bury the failed test. He got away with it, but he knew he'd hit the lowest point of his life. But hitting rock bottom is sometimes where the real story begins. And that's exactly what happened here. This is our final chapter, A Purpose Found. It's the story of his incredible climb all the way back to the top. But this time, he was going to do it his way. So how did he pull it off? How did he climb back? It really was step by step. He found this new inspiration after meeting Nelson Mandela. He humbled himself, starting all over again in these small, low-ranking tournaments to grind his way back up. And this whole journey leads him to the 1999 French Open final, where he finds himself 2 sets down, and then he pulls off one of the greatest comebacks in the history of tennis. Just incredible. And that win, man, that French Open win was huge. It meant he had achieved something called the Career Golden Slam, winning all 4 majors plus an Olympic gold medal. He was now in a super exclusive club with only one other member, the women's champion from that very same year, a player named Steffi Graf. And winning that match just lit a fire under him. What followed was this incredible late career run. He wins the US Open and gets back to the #1 ranking that same year. Then he wins the Australian Open in 2000. He wins it again in 2001, and then a third time in 2003. It was just total domination, bringing his Grand Slam total to 8. So what was different this time around? Well, he finally found things to play for that were bigger than himself. He found real love, marrying Steffi Graf, and he found a deep new purpose by starting a charitable school for underprivileged kids. He was no longer just playing for his dad. He was playing for his family, and for a legacy that had nothing to do with the tennis court. Which just leaves us with this one big question. Andre Agassi's life is this amazing paradox. He became one of the greatest of all time in a sport that he hated. So it really makes you wonder, is passion truly required for greatness? Or is it possible that having a powerful purpose is an even stronger force?